Yay.
Hello, everyone. We are live. Welcome to Conversations with Vegan Women Leaders. I'm your host, Katrina Fox. Now, my guest today, if you might recognize her if you're a fan of America's Next Top Model, because Marvita Washington has been a contestant on the show, not once, but twice. Now, originally from Anchorage, Alaska, Marvita currently resides in New York City. From sporty and tomboy to high fashion and haute couture, Marvita is versatile when it comes to modeling different fashion genres. She's also an actress as well as her modeling, and multi-talented, she is also the owner and chef of Marvita Vegan, a vegan restaurant that offers an assortment of healthy food options and drinks. And I was just on the website looking, and we were just saying those blue cheese loaded fries look absolutely fantastic and are making me hungry. Welcome to the show, Marvita.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. I was very excited. We'll talk about your vegan journey in a little bit, but look, and I was just saying to you off air, I used to be a big fan of all the top models, the Americas, Britons, Australias. So I do remember you being on the show and excited to chat to you. So let's talk a little bit about that. What made you decide to audition for America's Next Top Model?
Well, I auditioned because my cousin told me, you know what, you could be on that show if you wanted to. And I did not believe her. And she told me, listen, I will let you borrow my car if you go try out for that show. And I said, you know what? I think I'm going to take that chance. I'm going to borrow that car. So I did. And they picked me out of line. Like, that was like sheer luck. I was like, what, me? They're like, yes, you, come, let's go. I'm like, really? Me? They're like, yes, you. I'm like, okay. I guess there's nobody else standing next to me. The girl behind me was like, what? Why don't you just go?
I love that. Had you done any modeling before? Because I think I read that some of your family were models. I think it was your mum. She'd done some modeling.
My great aunt and my aunt were models. My mom did some modeling, but I hadn't really modeled that much as a kid. I think I did like one JCPenney thing or something when I was like a little kid, but other than that, nothing.
Wow, it's amazing. They obviously saw something. Now, you got chosen in season 9, but you didn't quite make the cut. So, and rejection, obviously, in the entertainment industry and modeling industry, it's full of rejection. How did you feel at the time, and how did you handle that initial rejection?
For me, on season 9, it's nothing new to me. Rejection for me was nothing new. I was like, you know what? I'm not mad. This is good. It's fine. If they want me to come back, I'll try out again. And that's what ended up happening. But it also, I'm glad that I took it the way I did, because a lot of other girls saw that and they were really hurt. Honestly, a lot of girls that didn't make it on, they were really hurt. And they were like, wow, you took it like, like a champ. Like, what are you doing? Like, what? I'm like, listen, you only get one life. So you just keep going. And so that's how I ended up being like an encouragement to so many other girls in that house, or even the ones that didn't make it.
I love that. I mean, you sound very evolved because you were about 22 or so, I think, when you were on there, and let's say your early 20s. I'm certainly looking back to when I was in my early 20s. Like, I would have probably been like those other girls. I would have burst into tears, like, how dare you? But
it wasn't fun. It wasn't fun at all. It was painful to watch, to see all those other girls hurting. Like, I know I was hurt deep down inside, but I've dealt with that most of my life. So it wasn't a big deal for me. But for them, it was just like, you don't understand. I'm like, what? It's a show.
Yeah. Wow. What about when you went back on season 10? So you got through this time to season 10, and I think you placed 10th. So again, you got cut, after a few airings of the show. How did that feel, and is that any different to when you got cut the first time?
For season 10, it was just kind of like, I felt like I'm coming back with a vengeance. I got a chip on my shoulder. Listen, I'm getting in that house. This is what I want, and this is what I'm doing. That's how I was feeling when I came back on season 10. But missing out, like, and getting voted off, again, I was hurt. This time I was actually hurt because I was like, man, I tried out again and I did this for the second time and I still didn't make it. But at the same time, I had to look at it in a way of like, listen, how many girls do you know in the world that get chosen twice for this show? How many girls just randomly get to go on this show? There's a lot of girls that try out for that show and don't make it. Not the first time, the second time, the third, or the fourth, or the fifth. So, hello?
I think we've just got some internet issues happening here. Hang on. Sorry, Marvita, we've just got some internet issues happening. Just got a little technical hitch going on here. Just bear with me. Just going to try and change the internet connection. Sorry about this. I don't normally have this, but
it happens. You're way across the world in Australia.
Yeah, but normally it's really good. And for some reason my strange, because my iPhone was coming up as a hotspot and it's not at the moment. Well, we seem to be back at the moment. Okay, let's touch wood that this will work. I'll edit this bit out for the audio. So you were saying you went back. So when you came back on season 10, you were saying it affected you differently when you got cut from season 10.
Yeah, because I had already, dealt with it season 9, and season 10. When I came back, like I said, I had a chip on my shoulder. I wanted this. I was ready for this. I came back to win. I didn't come back just to come back, So when I got voted off, it hurt. It really did. I was like, you know what? But then I had to think about it, like, how many girls do you know that get this opportunity? There are so many girls that have tried out countless times and have not made it on that show, let alone in the house. So I was lucky to even get the opportunity.
I love that perspective. I think that's such a good perspective to have. It's a very, like I said, very kind of grown up and, conscious way of looking at it. Now, you were also on the show, Marvita. I noticed you were very open. You were very honest, very vulnerable about, what happened in your life. You talked very upfront about some of the sexual abuse that you had shared. And that takes a lot of courage to do that on national television. Why did you decide to do that? And what response did you have from sharing those experiences?
The reason why I decided to do that is because I felt like this was my chance to have a platform. Because for one, I had a platform to be able to showcase, me being a model. Not only that, be able to open up about what I've been through, because I know there's millions of women in the world who have been sexually assaulted and raped and molested, like millions. I can't even count on one hand how many women I've met that have not been sexually harassed, abused, like raped, molested. I cannot count. There's only been one woman that I've ever met that told me, oh yeah, no, that's never happened to me. Yeah. So when I got that chance to do it, it was in me. I just felt it. I was like, you need to let this out. You need to let these people know. You need to tell your story so that it will help someone else. And do you know, when I did that, and even though I was voted off that show, so many people sent me messages, every single Facebook, everywhere. Oh my God, your story. Like I've went through that. I've went through that. I've went through that. Like so many people, men, women, everyone. And I just feel good that I was able to give them something to believe in, and to look up to.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So important when people are willing to do that. And I say not everybody is ready or willing or able. So I just thought it was incredibly brave that you did that, because like you say, it just means that other people can go, it happened to her, and look, she's, it doesn't know that I can't do stuff with my life. So, wow, That's incredible. Wonderful. Now, these shows, obviously, you know, a lot of reality TV shows, including Top Model, they're designed to entertain, and they very much focus on conflict and humiliation, you know, bitchiness, arguments. And obviously, as contestants, you have no say in how it's edited. How do you feel about how you were portrayed on the show?
I feel like I was myself. But I also feel like in the beginning, they kind of made me out to be someone that I wasn't. And everybody that knows me knows I'm a kind person and I'm a good person. And I'm always the person that people come to talk to. So I feel like maybe they kind of made me out to be a bitch in the beginning, maybe just a little. But that's not me. I'm a sweetheart.
Right. Right. And so how does that sort of impacted you, like in terms of, you know, in the modeling industry? You've been on the show. How has being on the show helped you in your career?
Helped. With modeling, I will be honest with you, a lot of clients, they're not okay with you being on that show. They're like, oh, you're the girl.
Oh, really?
No, absolutely not. Don't want to work with you. Based on how you were on that show. And also just based on that show alone. They do not. A lot of them will not
That's
work
interesting,
with you.
isn't it? I should have said how, yeah.
They don't.
Wow. That's interesting. I think hang on. I think a lot of people would be surprised by that, because you think, oh, you're on this show, it gives you exposure, and that agents and, you know, brands would be queuing up to work with you. So that's interesting.
It does give you exposure, but a lot of what I came across when I moved to New York and I just decided, oh, I'm going to start modeling. I got an agency, but, you know, just trying to do things, they will go through your book and see the pictures from the show, and they're like, no, can't work with you. Don't work with girls from the show. No.
Wow. That's interesting. Would they say why?
I don't know. Maybe it's because everyone knows your face now. I don't know. They're looking for new faces. I don't know.
Wow. That's interesting. That's interesting. And the modeling industry hasn't always as well, I guess on top of what you're saying, been very open to diversity. So normally, you know, it's if you're thin, white, and what's perceived to be conventionally attractive in the West, that's like the gold standard. And anybody else, it could be quite difficult. So in terms of, because you've been around for a while now in the industry for about 15 years, how has that experience been for you in the modeling industry? And has it changed over the years in any way?
I feel like now it's so much better for diversity than it ever was. I will say that, because a couple years ago, it was exactly what you're saying. That you got to be thin. You got to be like white, super thin and white. And if you're like of any other complexion, you have to be perfect. There can't be anything wrong with you. You have to be perfect.
Wow.
Which sucks.
So that was how it was.
Now everybody is like, now you see more of people really just being themselves in their own bodies. And we're now doing this whole body positivity thing where it doesn't matter what you look like now. Like if you're a big girl, if you're a small girl, if you're a tall girl, if you're like, that's pretty much what's in now. Everything is natural. You have to look natural. They want a natural looking girl. They don't even pretty much do makeup too much in the magazines now. Most of the stuff that you see in Vogue is like fresh face.
Right. Wow. Do you think that's a good thing?
Yes. Because now the girls who have for years, like even over the years, I'm sure even with you growing up, like you saw the magazines with the skinny girls and they're pretty and this and that. Now you can look in a magazine and you can see someone who looks like you and who's a representation of you. Like, I'm not like a girl who's like, you know, maybe a bit bigger. She sees another woman in the magazine who looks more like her. she has something to look up to, and she doesn't have to feel like, oh, I want to just like, I'm going to be bulimic. I'm not going to eat today because I want to look like this. But now you got Lizzo, and everybody's looking up to Lizzo like, listen, she is not ashamed of her body. She loves herself. Like, what's wrong with me? There's nothing wrong with you. And that's what I'm happy about. And I feel like a lot of women are taking control. And that is what we've needed.
Absolutely. And age as well, because I think modeling is a bit one of those industries where it's like, oh, by the time you're 24, 25, you're considered old. And it's like, what? Yes. And we're starting to see, I guess, some older models now. Although I guess some of the ones I've seen still tend to be like pretty conventionally, like, the cheap body. But I think we're starting to also see that as well, that, it's for all ages. And you're right, women of all ages want to see themselves represented. For sure. Yeah. Now, you said in an interview with TV Tonight, when I was doing my research for you, that being on the show helped your self-esteem and self-confidence. And I found that quite surprising because given that the show, like we mentioned earlier, is about bringing people down and criticizing them. Can you say a little bit more about that, about how it actually helped you with your self-esteem and self-confidence?
It helped me with my self-esteem and self-confidence because I had never been seen in that way before. I had never been seen as the pretty girl. Like, I was always the tomboy, never dressed up. Just whenever my mom would do my hair nice, I would just take it down and just do whatever. So when I got on that show and everybody's like, oh, you're so beautiful and this. And I was like, wait, what? Me? They're like, yes, you. I'm like, oh, okay. So it really boosted my confidence. It really just made me feel like beautiful, like felt like a woman, like this is who I am.
Nice. So, I love that. I'm really glad to hear that because you can imagine that it could possibly destroy a lot of, the young women's confidence. So it's nice to actually hear that it had the opposite effect. I love that. Now, have you stayed in touch with or are you friendly with any of the other contestants or Tyra or judges or anything? You are?
I am.
Oh, go on, tell.
I'm still friends with Ambrielle from Cycle 9. I am still friends with Claire from Cycle 10. Lauren from Cycle 10, Sarah from Cycle 9. These are people that I kind of keep in touch with through Instagram and Facebook. Like, we joke around a lot with each other. Like, those are my girls. Oh,
nice. Because you got that shared experience. Yeah.
Like, just, especially with Ambrielle, when I went on Cycle 9, like, my suitcase didn't have a lot of stuff in it. And she shared some of her clothes with me. She's like, listen, don't worry about it. I got you. You can borrow one of my things. I was like, really? I don't even know this girl. And she's like, this nice. And we've been friends ever since.
Oh, I love that. Because again, like I say, they normally, share, the fighting bit. And I love that there's that camaraderie still that maybe you don't see because it's not necessarily what they want to show because they want to show the conflict. But I love that if someone was willing to do that. That's awesome. Any of the judges, like, do they ever check in, see how you're doing or anything, or not really?
No, not at all. But like, I've commented on like, Nigel's post or something and he's like, thanks, whatever. And, or Paulina, I love Paulina Porskova. She's like she was one of my favorite judges when I was there because she kept me encouraged. She was like, listen, you don't need the show. You can go and model. She's like, and even if they vote you off, you go and model. Don't you stop. And I'm like, okay, girl. Yeah. Nice.
So I'm glad to hear that goes on behind the scenes because it can be. I remember sort of watching the show. I watched the show a lot, although lots of those episodes, and I did kind of wonder, like, well, what happens to the girls after that, and what does it do to their self-esteem, especially the ones that freak out when they have their hair all cut off a lot of the time. And I do often wonder, well, what happens to them after? Because there's a few that kind of go on and work full time and are very well known, but they're quite the small few, whereas others maybe get that steady kind of work, but you do kind of wonder what it does to the self-esteem. So I'm glad to hear that there's some positive reinforcement that maybe we don't see in front of the cameras.
Yeah, but coming off of the show and then living regular life is so weird.
Really? Tell us about that.
People think they know you. They do. They'll walk up to you and they'll tell you they watched the show and everything. They think they know you and they'll critique you and tell you what you should have done and what you shouldn't have done, as if they were there and they knew, but they didn't.
Oh,
And that,
really?
for me, I would just like, I have learned to just be quiet because you have to pick your battles. Um, yeah, that part is what used to just really bother me because people really thought they knew me and they were like, well, if you would have done this, you could have still been on the show. And I'm just like, were you there? Were you? No, right? Okay.
Yeah, they didn't have the courage to go on and do it, but they're happy to critique other people that did. That's funny.
Right. And it was not easy on that show. It was not easy. Cameras constantly rolling on you and just like, girls, let me tell you, they do not pick the most sane people to be on this show. I swear to God, they do not pick the most sane people to be on reality TV shows. They pick people who they know are just going to be in conflict with each other all the time.
Wow.
Whew, God.
And how do you handle it? Do you think they kind of set up some of the drama as well, like kind of following you around? Yeah.
Absolutely. Because you go in these confessionals and they ask you questions, but they kind of word the questions like, so how did you feel when such and such pushed you? And I'm like, wait, that person pushed me? What did they tell you? Because they're telling you what this person told them, but they actually put those words in their mouth. And it's just like, what?
Wow.
And then you actually go back and you want to fight this person. Like, what? No.
Wow. They're called reality shows, but they're kind of not really, they're kind of manufactured reality shows.
Right.
So on that, I guess, what advice then, given that you've had this experience, what advice or tips would you give to anyone who's watching or listening now that thinks, you know what, I want to be on a reality TV show. I think I'd like to apply, whether it's top model or anything else. What would you say to them? Do
not go on reality TV. I swear, don't do it, because you got to understand, with social media, people will they will play whatever video of you and they will talk about you. You have to have thick skin to do this. It's not easy. There are people who are online and they do this all day. They critique and they say mean things and they're like, ew, she's ugly. Oh, this, I don't like their nose. And you start to really read into that. You got to have thick skin to do reality TV. Don't do it. Do not do it. Don't do it. If you don't want people only thinking they know you and you're a very private person, don't do it. If you're a very sensitive person, don't do it. Now, if you are a type of person that can play the game and, nothing bothers you, absolutely, go for it. Go for it. Because let me tell you, the reality TV will make you depressed, for one. You will be in a ball of depression because you're thinking about everything that people have said about you online, on the show, people you don't even know, you could go into some deep depression and never want to leave your house. So don't do it. Don't do it.
Wow. I think that's really important for people to hear, because I think at the moment in the UK they've got a TV show called The Great British Bake Off, and they've got the first vegan baker on there. She's a young woman, a Freya, and she's only 19, and her name's Freya Cox, I think her name is, and she's on this brand new show, and she's the first vegan baker, and she's only 19, and she's already copped some flack, even from within the vegan community, which I think is a bit sad. But it's like, it is, it can be that concerning, because sometimes people want to go on it for reasons like that, like, he wants to showcase vegan baking, and then you've got people who want to go on shows, particularly young people, they're like, I just want to be famous, and reality TV will do it. And they maybe don't realize the pitfalls or, how it can impact them, like both professionally, as you said, it doesn't necessarily open all the doors, and also personally, like you've mentioned. So I really appreciate being honest about this, because I know probably when you're on the show, you're not allowed to kind of talk too much about it. Again. We've just dropped out a little, Marvita, sorry. Oh, We're back. Sorry, we're having the internet gremlins are are getting at us today. No, I was just saying I really appreciate you sharing this kind of information, because back, when you're on those shows, you're probably not allowed to due to contract. So I think it's really important for people to hear. So I really appreciate that. So let's talk about your veganism. As I say, I think we were talking before, you were vegetarian at the time you were on the show. But when and how and why did you go vegan? And what have been the benefits?
So I went vegan in 2017 because I had a tumor removed. I was afraid that it was cancerous, and the doctors had to remove it. So they removed it. And ever since, I've been vegan, and I've had a lot more energy. I've just been able to think clearer. Like, I'm telling you, it has really changed my life for the better. I feel so much better. My skin glows. I don't remember my skin glowing like this.
Wow. Oh, that's amazing. I love that. I always love it. I think that's good for people to hear as well, because you often think about, veganism, you've got to give up, the foods that you enjoy. But that's obviously not the case, as you know, because you have your own restaurant. And as I say, I was looking at the menu earlier and making me very hungry. Tell us a bit about how you decided to become an entrepreneur and a business owner and actually start a restaurant. Tell us a little bit about that.
It's funny because I was working at a place and someone just really pissed me off. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to start my own business. So then I did.
That's a funny reason to start a business.
It is a funny reason, but I was like, I hate people. I'm starting my own business. So I did. And that anger it was like gasoline. It just fueled me. I was ready. I was like, you know what? I can't work here anymore. I have to start my own business.
Oh, okay. So you were finding it difficult working at other places and being working for someone else. So you decided it would be better to be your own boss. Okay.
And I was tired of never being able to eat the way I wanted to eat. It's complicated to ask someone to make things the way that I do. Most of the things that I do are kind of alkaline. Nobody is going to make me alkaline stuff. You have to make it from scratch because everything is in food that we eat. Everything. Soy, everything. And most of my meals, I can't have soy because I have an allergy to soy.
Oh, really? Wow. So how's it been? How's the journey been? Because starting your own business has a lot of challenges in and of itself. But you come across, you're a very resilient person, a determined person. That's the impression. Not professing to know you, but even just from chatting with you today. How has that journey been? How have you kind of managed that?
It's been extremely hard. Extremely hard. I thought that this would be easy, I thought that I was just going to be like, yeah, I'm going to do Marvita Vegan. Everything's going to be great. No. I feel like no, absolutely not. Wasn't easy.
What were some of your challenges?
Licensing, I have to do everything. It sounds great to hire all these people to do everything, but you have to pay them, and then you need licensing, and then you need this, and then it just all this money and lawyer fees and things of that sort. It's a lot. Right. And I just kind of went with it, and I was like, no, I'm doing this. I shouldn't have done that. I probably should have wrote out a business plan and did all this other stuff. But listen, I was fueled by that lady who pissed me off. She made me want to start a business. I was like, that had to be the universe.
Absolutely. Sometimes people come, someone taught me once, they said sometimes spiritual teachers, they're not, like the ones that meditate or your yoga teachers or the Dalai Lama. They are people that, as you say, that piss you off. Sometimes they can be our best spiritual teachers and help us to grow. So where are you at the moment with the business? It's based, whereabouts in New York is it based? And how can people find it? In the Bronx. That's interesting. How is that? Because people often think New York, Brooklyn, Manhattan are quite vegan, they're places you would go to, find quite vegan restaurants. So how is that in the Bronx? How has it been received in the Bronx?
Well, at the moment, I've been doing DoorDash. But at the moment, I'm just kind of like taking a break from DoorDash. So I'm just doing catering and meal prep and cocktails. And what I've been doing is I've been doing a lot more business in Brooklyn. So I think I might end up moving to Brooklyn. I'm sorry, Bronx. I just feel like it's more received here. Like when I come to Brooklyn and I'm selling drinks or I'm selling food, I'm selling out. And
Nice.
that feels good. In the Bronx, I'm not, I don't know. It's just not, I love the Bronx. I have an apartment there and I love my apartment, but just don't feel like I'm being received the way I should be in the Bronx.
Yeah. No, gotcha. So what's your plan? I know it's difficult, with everything that's going on in the world, but any kind of plans for your future or anything? And I believe you're still doing some modeling when it comes up, but anything you want to share with us that you've got coming up?
Just catering and meal prepping. This is hard.
That's a good
Nobody
thing.
understands how hard this is. Don't just say you're going to start a business, guys. Actually do the research because this is not easy. Okay? And then you deal with banks. Oh my God.
It's very different from modeling, acting. It's a whole thing, like you say, especially when you're in it and you're the chef and everything. But well, look, I love the look of it. When I'm next, I don't know when I'm going to be in New York next, because who knows, can't go anywhere at the moment, but I will definitely want to check out your amazing restaurant. So we're going to wrap up with, I've got some what's called rapid fire questions. So I'm going to ask you a few questions, and you just answer in like maybe one sentence or less, but there's no real rules. If you say something that's really interesting, we might go deeper into it, but basically they're kind of just kind of short answer, rapid fire questions. What's the most courageous thing you've ever done?
Tell my story on America's Next Top Model.
Absolutely. What does leadership mean to you, and what style of leader do you believe you are?
Leadership means a lot to me. I feel like the style of leader that I am is, I really have to think about that one. Wow. Yeah. What style of leader am I? I guess I'm just the type of leader that just takes control. I'm just like, everybody follow me. maybe like the mom leader. Because I care about people's feelings and their hearts, and I just have a big heart. So I'd say that's the type of leader that I lead with my heart.
You lead with it. I love that. It's brilliant. What do you love most about yourself?
What do I love most about myself? My personality. I love my personality. It just can't be duplicated. I don't even try. Literally, I love my personality. I thank my ancestors and God for blessing me with the goofball that I am. Because, like, seriously, some of the things that I think in my mind are hilarious. Like, and I don't even try. My regular life is hilarious. I step outside and something hilarious happens, and I'm like, how does that happen to me? What?
Love it. Wonderful. Now, I know you've shared quite a lot of yourself, both when you were on America's Next Top Model and after, but what's one thing that most people probably wouldn't know about you? So it could be, I don't know, an interesting hobby or an anecdote. What's one thing most people wouldn't know?
I love classical music.
Do you? Oh, nice.
Yeah, see, you were like,
no, it's great. Any particular type? Composer or just
particular? I just like to listen to it sometimes, and I like to get in my zone. And jazz music, love jazz music, jazz music. Those two together, when I'm cooking, that's what I'm doing. Listening to jazz and classical.
Love it.
And drinking wine. Lots of wine.
I love it. And just finally, what have been a couple of key lessons that you've learned? I know you've shared some already throughout your life, your experiences that you would like to share with other vegan women leaders.
Lessons that I've learned to share with vegan leaders?
Yeah, or lessons that you've learned, and any tips or advice that you would like to share with other vegan women leaders.
Okay, do not give up on being a vegan. I don't care what they tell you. Do not stop. Keep doing it because it's good for your health, for one. Like, look at me. I'm 37 years old. I don't look 37. Thank God. I don't feel it either. Just keep going. Don't stop. Take care of yourself. Get rest. Meditate. I said this last time when I was on a podcast. It's like the first thing I do in the morning is I meditate. I just try to get in my zone. Just get in your zone. Get in your zone. Because even I'm going to be honest with you, I feel like with being vegan, you go to another, like, I don't want to say, but like, it's true. It's kind of like a spiritual level that you go to with your body and your mind and yourself. You don't feel the same as when you don't indulge in being vegan.
I love that. Fantastic. I'm just going to give a little shout out. I can see that Karen Dawn has put a comment. She's calling you Marvy the Queen. There you go. You've got a little, she'd be Marvy the Vegan Queen. I love it. And she's saying thank you. She's saying she's reminded of Princess Diana choosing to share her struggles with bulimia with the world so that millions suffering of it wouldn't feel that they're alone. Thank you, Marvy Queen, for being willing to share your pain like Diana the Princess to help others. Absolutely.
Oh, thank you. Somebody compare me to her. Thank you.
She's lovely, Karen. I'll do an intro. She's a good friend of mine. I'll do an intro after this. But Marvita, it's been so lovely speaking with you. I love that you've just run with things. You've been on that show, been very public, as you say, gone through all those experiences, and you've inspired so many others. And now, you've become vegan and you're running a vegan restaurant, becoming a business owner and entrepreneur. So you're absolutely an inspiration. Everybody do go and check out Marvita's vegan restaurant. You can find that on the website at marvitavegan.com. If you're watching the video, that's scrolling along the bottom of your screen. And if you're listening to the audio version of this episode, then you can find that link on the show notes page for this episode, as well as following Marvita on Instagram. Which, do you want to give us your Instagram handles, Marvita?
So I have Marvita Vegan and I also have Marvita.Washington.
Wonderful. So highly recommend you go follow Marvita, check out the restaurant if you're in New York City. Marvita, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you. I really appreciate you and appreciate you taking your time. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks everyone for tuning in. Bye for now.